Hello, everybody. I hope you're all having a fantastic Tuesday. Before we jump into the game, I would first like to give a trigger warning. PTSD, death, harm, and other sad events will transpire in today's session. If any of this is not okay with you, we love you. We accept that. Feel free to step away. Okay? Our universe lost a hero. An individual who has been around, well, technically since the beginning. Hedge. Known to many of the people of this world as Hedge Dust. An orphan dwarf from a young age with a tragic background. Adopted by a loving, crafting family, the Dust family, in Uthodurn. Hedge was a young individual when he set off to pursue his own journey in this world. Everywhere he went, his first goal was to help. Like any real adventurer should be. Always trying to make the world just slightly better. Well, his last moments were shared last week with all of you. Events transpired. What happened and had to happen did. And we are moving past those last moments on top of the hill. Fordrum running back. You see a streak of dust in the air. And you reach up and pluck what at first seems like a snowflake. But then you see is a long, pink beard hair. The coming moments were a blur. Death always being a portion of being an adventurer. You rarely have to look it in the face. But we fast forward just a few days. The proper accommodations being made for all of you. Staying with the Brightblade family in Uthodurn. The only time the entire family is quiet. The service begins in the early morning. Everybody who has come to town gathers at the top of Mount Uthodurn, a place where legends of this location are laid to rest. For the first time in your experience in this location, other than Fordrum, it rains. The snow is not allowed access to this city. Almost as if EXANDRIA weeps. You all line up, heading to the top of this mountain, where you see hundreds of individuals from the city and far away have shown up. You see unique people, clearly from far away, but clearly adventurers on the other side. some of them standing by the high priest, who is speaking. It is customary in our traditions that those closest to him in his remaining years speak first. Wyatt.
Yes, I'm here. You guys here?
Would you please describe Iblis for everybody?
Iblis is a very gray, pale-looking tiefling with gray eyes. She looks very, very menacing, actually. Now, I guess. She has horns that go back. Do you have her photo up on the stream? It's a little behind.
I do.
Okay, there we go. She wears red garbs in the front that don't really cover too much. It doesn't seem like the cold bothers her at all. In fact, she seems happy in the cold. She has a very unimpressed look on her face, like Michaela Maroney, best way to describe that. And she looks very, not angry, but just down about all of this. She's carrying a crossbow. It looks ornate.
The high priest gestures at you to step forward to a large casket made purely out of wood. The casket, notably, is empty, but you have given the instructions. Speak your piece and lay your dirt in there.
Iblis looks down at the casket, then back up towards everyone and says, Hedge Dust, the vanquisher of the Craven, conqueror of heresy, commandant of the Slayer's Take, and most of all, my friend. Today is a solemn day that Hedge must return to the stone and embark on his final journey. Hedge was my second command in the Slayer's Take when I ran it. I chose him to be so, even though we didn't always see eye to eye. You see, Hedge was born with a gift. Hedge always knew what was the right choice to make for the betterment of everyone, even if it was the hardest choice to make. This is a rare thing to find in such a great warrior. Slayer's Take will never recover from the loss of one of their leaders. I come here in mourning for my friend and see the world a little darker without his light in it. But Hedge wouldn't want us to feel this way. Hedge would want us to celebrate the happiness and good he brought to all our lives. So ask that everyone holds up their goblet or horn, whatever you drink from. Have a drink and have a moment of silence for Hedge, and she's going to hold up a horn of ale and drink.
Every Uthadurnian holds up their flask.
After she finishes, she's going to put it down and say, from stone to stone, from dust to dust. Here from the Zenwick Mountains, and she's going to pour the dust in where we met. She's going to take a step back from the casket. Goodbye, Hedge Dust.
The high priest will look at you, pat you on the shoulder. You look across the way at Lady Teresa. It's rare that somebody has her at their service, but knowing him, who else would sanctify it? Thank you. I'm going to move you back into the waiting room. After Iblis is done speaking her portion, she steps back into the line with many of the others. You all see a human step up. Very skinny, scrawny even. slightly hunched over, seems to be supporting himself with a large staff. Clearly one that's too big for somebody his size. He walks past the high priest. Pulls out a small bag. And those of you with very high passives hear him whisper under his breath. I'll miss you. Immediately after he places the dirt in there, he very quickly leaves the area, out of the crowd. You watch next as a new individual steps forward. Strange one. Jess, could you describe N to everybody?
N is a red tiefling, a little shorter, but with ornate horns that are decorated and a crown affixed between all of them, wearing a suit, all black, with a bright pink pocket square. And it's very difficult to really pin down their gender, but they have a very sad look currently, and they're very slow to make their way up to the coffin. They take a moment, put one hand on it, if it wasn't for Hedge, we would have plunged into darkness, and it was a good bit of his direction that saw me stepping into what I believe he saw us to actually be. If you don't mind, I would like to read something. Being a bard was the first job I ever took. I'd like to honor him that way. When do we truly see the light? Only when the ever faithful sun rises from obscurity and then it's fading into night. No one stops it at its peak. There's too much left undone. A lucky few may see its terrific rise, but since its power is to bring us all to wake, far more see the shadow fall and unavoidable. We will keep your memory and all those who have ever risen to the call as you have. We will wait to meet the next day. and Inn will do a very formal full bow to the coffin and step back down.
As you are walking away, the high priest grabs your shoulder and shakes your hand, thanking you.
No, thank you for being here.
You watch as a handful of different individuals look at each other awkwardly. About 3 of them. A halfling, a familiar-looking druid, and a lizard folk. Before a third individual steps forward. Please. Describe Kothar.
Kothar is a quite large red dragonborn. Not wearing... It's more kind of like armor made for a ceremonial purpose. It looks old. He only has it covering his shoulder. And some elbows and knees, not much really covering anywhere else. It's clearly very, very sad. He's been pretty much probably crying this entire time, so, and not really holding it back. Yeah. He will lumber forward and take out a bag. Hedge was one of the first people I met when I started adventuring again, and he was there for my group when we needed a lot, and he may have never considered himself one, but he'll always be a champion in my eyes. Appreciate you all coming and honoring him here, and I'll be sure to take back all of these memories and people that he's helped and spread the stories of another champion that lived in this time. Goodbye, Hedge. And he proceeds to just break down crying and walking off.
The high priest will comfort you over the shoulder as he walks with you back to where you are standing. Thank you. The few individuals who look very awkward right now all seem to hesitate before approaching. But as they are hesitating, a different individual who looks absolutely nothing like this token, I promise all of you, begins stepping forward. Ilvorn, would you please describe what your character looks like right now?
She looks like a very nondescript human female. She's currently got black hair, and it's tied back in a knot of some kind. She's got a hood up, and her clothes are quite, well, they look very mundane. She just steps up a bit closer and looks down for a little bit before finally speaking. And well, this is a bit of a downer. Don't suppose you'll just get up, will you? All right, well, you were one of the good ones. And just hope you're in a better place now. And then she steps away and casts one sort of discerning look around the crowd before fading back behind some of the more prominent figures.
So, as she slips away, blending into the crowd despite standing out here in Uthadurn very easily. Next, the other three individuals who have been looking very awkward. One steps forward first. The halfling. A very easily seen amount of scars from fires and flames across his person. Wearing a slightly ragged outfit that looks like it was fixed up to look nicer. Steps forward and expresses a level of fondness towards Hedge, recounting an interaction they had, and then another one, and everyone quickly realizes this all probably happened within the same day that they met each other. Just paying attention to the smallest detail that no person should ever be focused on. Leans down and places their dirt into the hole, into the coffin, before stepping away. Then you all watch the larger lizard folk stepping up with a long robe that's flipped inside out right now, but looks very nice. It's rare to find somebody else who's as good as hunting as you are. Well, maybe not as good, but still pretty good. Yeah, people seem to really like you, man. Really respect you. Always wanted to ask you how I could do that. Get people to just like you all of a sudden. Strange. Of course, you'd live somewhere where it's fucking cold, too. How do you people live like that? Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're a good person. Gonna miss you, buddy. Then he steps away. Then you all see Silren, the druid who has been here in Uthadurn since your first arrival. Now you start piecing together those other individuals, or maybe some of them, were possibly a part of that group that is so adored by Uthadurn right now. Silren steps up, and you see a level of admiration from many of the people here that clearly makes him very uncomfortable. And then you see Sir Superfang the Amazing. The, well, at this point, large direwolf who can speak, weeping, looking very confused. Silverin looks at all of you and then back at the coffin and seems to speak more to that than anybody else. He was a dwarf, and now he's dead. It happens, and he knows what he signed up for. He was meddlesome, a drinker, and frankly liked to get into other people's business. There's a clear look of confusion from the crowd, and he seems to completely ignore them. But he was loyal, brave, even if stupid so. Made the Slayers take a manageable place for people that don't always have a place to fit in. Assholes, for example, but he at least channeled them for good, even if he also made a profit from it. Doesn't really look back at the rest of the crowd, just drops his dirt into the coffin and steps away. The number of people who approach and give these descriptions of Hedge continues. Dozens of them, all with very distinctly unique stories to recount. All with the same general theme, though, as if written out of a storybook. Always showing up, being sometimes a little annoying, but mostly just making the world better. Through all of this, you all watch as one by one the crowd takes their turns before the high priest looks over at all of you. And for those of you who were last with him in his final hours, please regale us with this heroic tale so that we can scribe it in our stones and share it for generations.
I'll go first. Argan will walk up to the thing, having left his chair behind at the Brightblade Estate. Hedge, we did not know you very long. And what we had been told was painted a picture of a man of dubious connections and loyalties and of strange activities. But it took only a day for us to realize that who you were could not meet the description that had been given to us. Your care for others, your spirit for adventure was evident from the very beginning. Our fight in the mansion was a drain of magic that I have never experienced. You were as powerful and crafty as anything I have ever faced. In the end, we broke the bond that had taken hold of you. And I do not regret breaking that bond. My only regret is the cost it took to break it. And that through that long fight, there was not enough left for us to get here in time to save you. And I will pour the dirt in the casket and then head back.
The high priest shakes your hand, same as everybody else's, as you step away.
Corvus will go up next. I can't say I knew you very well. In fact, given the nature of our time together, it's hard to be sure exactly what I knew that was you. Even so, I could always see a sort of goodness to you that stood out for itself. And just from all the many faces and stories we've heard today, I can tell the world must truly be worse off without you. And I hope that we can all do a bit more to emulate your example and try to make the difference. And with that, Corvus will pour his dirt also on the casket.
The high priest thanks you as you are stepping away. Looks over towards the last remaining two. Sinclair?
As I walk up, I pop the latch on the side of my chin. And as I get closer, I remove my mask and stick it in my shirt. And I pull out my dirt. I pull out a mask that I made for him. And the jeweled bottle of whiskey that is mostly finished, but still got good drink sip left in it. And I put it in the casket and I go, even though I share a bloodline with those that took your brethren, you never showed any malice towards me. Only wanting to help, teach, and guide us going forward. You showed us that if we put our work together, we can save the lives of many. And in the final moments that you were alive, you showed us all what mattered most. Family, friends, and your homeland. I hope you had a wonderful view in those last moments before you passed. And I put the bottle in the casket, the mask on top, and then the dirt right below it.
As you are walking away, the high priest approaches, shaking your hand, and you see Lady Teresa adorned with a large symbol to the Queen of Ravens smile at you.
I nod.
The high priest looks over at you, Fordrum.
Torn.
Eagerly, Fordrum walks up, probably too soon, not letting Sinclair get all the way back to his perch. Climbs up the stairs to the casket, drops his dirt in. Rest well, lad. Turns around. Seemed friends. I got to spend the last couple of hours with Hedge. We talked about his wants. We prayed. He would want you all to live as he exampled, helping those who need, enjoying the time with those who he was surrounded by, and drinking should the need arise. He was jovial. He was resolved at the end that this may be the end, and he was positive. We did what we could, but in the end, this is part of what life is. And I hope for all that his example will live on within every one of us towards the life you choose, for I know it will with me.
As you step away, many people in the crowd raises their flasks yet again. The high priest turns to everybody. This man was not born here, but called here home. Uthadern can be more than just blood, as we've learned recently. So, I hope all of you can learn your lesson from this majestic life. Aspire to be more like our brother. And above all else, share that light. The high priest goes over to the casket and spills a large drift of dirt across. Now, Fordrum, you've been to numerous funerals in Uthadern. It's very rare that a casket can be half filled with dirt, especially without a body in it. It's meant to symbolize all of the roads that brought you to where you are, all of the lives you have touched, to see how full your life was in the end. The high priest begins a prayer that you all are invited to participate in, but are not expected to. As he is doing this, you see Lady Teresa stepping forward, twisting a string of platinum in a large infinite symbol. As the symbol continues weaving around, you see a glow emanate in the air, and two large raven wings flutter. Once they flash, the casket is closed. Very suddenly. And a single feather is placed on top, as is a familiar blanket the Dust family comes out. They lift the casket and begin traveling to their home. The final moments of every Euthydurnian is solely with family. No exceptions. And as they step away, you all watch the final moments of his essence here. The high priest looks at everybody. Well, we thank all of you for traveling here as quickly as possible. Of course, we will be regaling stories with one another. Well, he didn't really have a favorite tavern, like most of them. So I figured we'll go to the Blackfoot, eh? Many of the people immediately, hey! In the crowd. The energy immediately shifting to happy, joyous nature, and people begin clustering up in small groups with one another. Your group, your party, is met with many of these random Euthydurnians that, even as long as you've been here, you haven't really spoken to, other than Fortrum, who immediately just start talking to you, you know, treating you like family. Same exact warm welcome that you felt the moment you walked into Fortrum's home. And you all walk away to the tavern. Now, everybody, this is where the stream is ending, as the party is going to be talking to the other characters in private about Hedge, to see what they can learn about him and see if they can figure out any of his past. So, thank you all very much for being here. Thank you for participating in this funeral. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.